Heya Cryptozens. Tonight's show: Iran's CBDC and cross-border payment plans, UK expands crypto seizure powers, and Chamber of Digital Commerce joins XRP suit. It's 10 p.m. Pacific time. The date is September 22nd, 2022. Welcome back to the Crypto Overnighter. My name is Nicodemus, and I'll be your host. The cover model, mascot, and co-host for this podcast is Tex. And together, we take a nightly look at the crypto, NFT, and metaverse space and the industry that surrounds it. If you have questions or comments on the show, come find us on Twitter or email us at nick@cryptoovernighter.com. And keep in mind, nothing in this show should ever be considered financial advice. The Central Bank of Iran announced a new pilot today. They announced the launch of the crypto rial pilot, rial being the name of Iran's official currency. So crypto rial is the name of the central bank digital currency that they're looking to impose on their subjects. This is a scheme they've been working on for years. They started working on the crypto rial in 2018. Now, they were supposed to launch their CBDC this coming November. So any use of crypto as a form of payment is strictly prohibited. But it looks like that might be changing, perhaps due to the sanctions, because Iran is one of the most sanctioned countries on the planet. Now that their friend Russia has also been hit with significant sanctioning, I'm wondering if the pressure is starting to get to them. Because as big a front as Putin's putting up, Russia's hurting and can't really help Iran out. But we'll talk about Russia in a bit. Al Jazeera tells us that the crypto rial will be on the Borna platform. Borna is a blockchain platform that Iran has been developing. It's hoped that it will replace Iran's outdated banking system. It's not part of the current trial, but the Borna platform is expected to allow fee-based financial services. Now, Borna was developed using an IBM open-source distributed ledger technology platform called the Hyperledger Fabric. And so that means that banks will be able to trade paper reals for the crypto version. And since this system is permissioned, the central bank will get to choose what banks get to participate. This is one departure from Iran's prohibition against crypto. Back in August, Iranians started using crypto to pay for imports. They announced that regulations and logistics were finalized to allow the use of crypto by Iran. This, however, is only for use for trading with international partners. This was after they completed a purchase of $10 million worth of imports, and that was facilitated by the use of crypto. At the time, Iran's trade minister said that Iran is ready, that everything from assigning and granting licenses to providing fuel and energy for mining, they're all set up. Their deputy administrator for industry, mining, and trade said, quote, "By the end of September, the use of cryptocurrencies and smart contracts will be widespread in the foreign trade with target countries." And they started preparing for this last year. That was when the central bank said it was okay to process import bills through cryptocurrencies. That is, if you fit within their categories: exchanges, domestic banks, licensed miners. That was also when they amended legislation to allow crypto to be used for funding imports. In June of last year, they gave licenses to 30 Iranian miners to mine crypto. The rule is that they have to sell their crypto, anything that they mine, they have to sell it to the Central Bank of Iran. So they've got a method of bringing value into their system through importing items and using crypto to pay for it. They've got price controls on crypto mining, and the central bank determines how much you get paid for the crypto you mined. So it looks like they've got a plan for a digital currency for domestic use. Now, Russia, too, they're expanding the legal use of crypto. It was announced just a few hours ago that the Russia Bank and the Ministry of Finance have an agreement on using crypto to settle cross-border payments. This came out in a report today in the Russian publication Kommersant. Russia's deputy finance minister said that the ministry agreed on the whole with the central bank. At issue was a rule that would let residents send cross-border payments using crypto. So this policy change was around allowing Russians access to digital wallets. Now, according to this report, he said, quote, "The policy generally describes how to acquire cryptocurrency, what can be done with it, and how it can or cannot be settled with it in the first place in cross-border settlements." Now, these talks have been taking place for some time. Negotiations between the central bank and the government officials. Apparently, they are concerned about their citizens operating unsupervised. They said, quote, "Now that people are opening crypto wallets outside the Russian Federation, it is necessary to do this in Russia with entities supervised by the central bank, which are required to comply with anti-money laundering and know your customer requirements." So Russia, like Iran, has come a long way. In 2020, Russia passed legislation that prohibits the use of crypto as a form of payment. And again, just this last July, Putin signed a bill into law that bans digital financial assets as payments. That said, back in May, Trade Minister Denis Manturov suggested that Russia would legalize crypto payments, quote, "sooner or later." Of course, this all comes from sanctions. Just about a week ago, the U.S. Treasury Department added 22 Russian individuals and 3 Russian entities to their sanctions list. It's evident by now that Russian and Iranian economies cannot evade sanctions just by adopting crypto. There just isn't enough liquidity or infrastructure in crypto to absorb economies of that size. So they won't be able to use it to release the economic pressure that they're under, at least not completely. But what is happening is that they're proving to be laboratories where economists and crypto aficionados alike will be able to watch and see what happens. Compared to the U.S., Russia and Iran are rushing headlong into adoption. If we're smart, our regulators and our industry leaders, they're watching Russia and Iran. That way we can learn to avoid their mistakes and emulate their successes. At the time of writing, the global crypto market cap is $945 billion. That's up 5.65%. The top 5 cryptos by market cap are Bitcoin up 4.85%, Ethereum up 6.51%, Tether, USDC, and Binance Coin up 4.36%. Now, another country that I consider to be ahead of the United States in terms of crypto adoption would be the Brits. Great Britain is well ahead of us in terms of being ready for a crypto-denominated future. This bill was announced back last May by then Prince Charles, now King Charles. It's aimed at taking on finance crime, reducing illicit finance, and helping businesses grow. And what it does is allow the UK authorities to, quote, seize, freeze, and recover crypto. And so their announcement today, they said that lawmakers have introduced the Economic Crime and Corporate Transparency Bill. In an attempt to drive down dirty money out of the country, this bill contains provisions for cutting down on the amount of red tape around confidentiality liability. Under this bill, law enforcement would have the authority to, quote, compel businesses to hand over information which could be related to money laundering or terrorist financing. And that includes crypto. What they want to do is make it easier and quicker for law enforcement to, quote, seize, freeze, and recover crypto assets, the digital currency increasingly used by organized crime to launder profits from fraud, drugs, and cybercrime. They continued, saying, strengthening powers in the Proceeds of Crime Act will modernize the legislation to ensure agencies can keep pace with the rapid technological change and prevent assets from funding further criminality. Graham Beggar is the director of UK's National Crime Agency. He said, quote, domestic and international criminals have for years laundered the proceeds of their crime and corruption by abusing UK company structures and are increasingly using cryptocurrencies. These reforms, long awaited and much welcomed, will help us crack down on both. This bill was announced during the Queen's speech last May. The UK's Economic and Finance Ministry has also been looking at how to incorporate stablecoins as a means of payment. According to the UK, making it easier for authorities to seize, freeze, and recover will make it easier and faster for authorities to enact sanctions on individuals tied to President Putin and his invasion of Ukraine. According to the Metro Police, there has been, quote, a big rise in cryptocurrency seizures in 2021. According to the BBC, in July of last year, they reported that police had seized £114 million in one case and £180 million in another. Now, of course, this comes as Liz Truss takes over the Prime Minister slot from Boris Johnson. People weren't really sure what to make of Truss and her position on crypto. She's made some favorable marks in the past, and she's always seemed to kind of advocate for more of a hands-off approach on a regulatory level. Crypto advocates across the pond will be closely watching Liz Truss to see how she handles this legislation. They're going to be looking for clues to see how she's going to act in the future. The global NFT market cap is down 7.36%. Sales volume is up 1.93%. According to CoinMarketCap, the top 5 NFT collections by sales volume are CryptoPunks, followed by Mutant Apes, Otherdeed, Bored Apes, and Azuki. Now keep in mind, some of these collections have very volatile prices, so do your own research. A Southern District Court in New York has approved a filing by the Chamber of Digital Commerce. Now, the Chamber is a U.S.-based cryptocurrency advocacy group, and this filing lets the Chamber join the case as a friend of the court, amicus curiae. This is usually a person or group that's not a direct party in a case, but they still have a strong interest in the matter. And in this case, what we're talking about is the lawsuit between the Securities Exchange Commission and Ripple Labs. On Wednesday, Annalisa Torres, who is the judge on the case, she approved the chamber joining the case. What this means now is that they can provide the court with information, expertise, or insight on the matter. And like I said, the chamber really isn't on the case, at least not directly. So the chamber is providing a brief for the court. They intend to have that filed by September 26th. And while the stated reason for the brief is to influence the judgment, in this case, the chamber has said that they're not going to be commenting on XRP's status as a security. That said, it sounds like they're going through all of the applicable legal precedents, specifically looking at precedents set around the initial offerings of virtual assets, ICOs. They also said that they intend to, quote, make the court aware that no federal law or regulation governs the legal characterization of a digital asset recorded on a blockchain. Now, whichever way this course goes, it's going to have long-lasting effects on the crypto landscape for some time to come. Specifically, whether the law applicable to the securities transaction is properly distinguished from the one applicable to secondary transactions. And that's important because if the judge rules in favor of the SEC, that opens the door for untold numbers of legal actions against other projects that offer something similar to XRP. Last July, the SEC tried to get the court to strip XRP holders of their friend of the court status. So it's not surprising that the SEC isn't too thrilled with the judge adding the chamber to the case. So they're requesting additional time if more amicus briefs are to be allowed. Ripple objected to this. They called it, quote, yet another transparent attempt to further delay resolution of this case. This may be signaling the end of the case here. Not to get people's hopes up or anything, but think about this for a minute. Both the SEC and Ripple have asked the judge to offer a summary judgment. And then Judge Torres turns around and allows experts on the matter to join the case to offer their perspective and insight. It seems to me that if I were a judge and I were in Judge Torres' shoes, I'd be interested in hearing from the experts before rendering my decision. And I think we're going to call that good for the night. I want to thank you, my listeners, because when you stop listening, I will stop talking. Take care of yourselves, but take care of each other too. We'll see you tomorrow night.